able to be on the past 2 weeks due to circumstances outside of my control. Mainly a freak winter storm here in Texas that pretty much incapacitated the entire state. Grid was underperforming, not enough energy being produced, windmills being frozen,
Oof.
just like the perfect storm, in other words, for disaster here in Texas. But
Hmm.
I was without power for over 4 days, starting not last Monday, but the week before. No power means no heat, no electrical appliances, no refrigerator, no nothing. And then they had to shut off the water to our apartment complex because they were afraid of pipes bursting. And sure enough, when they turned the water back on, Thursday, Friday of that week, a couple pipes burst. Pipe in my ceiling leaked. I now have a 6 foot hole in the ceiling of my bathroom
That's bullshit.
where the sheetrock was getting wetted and it dissolved, and basically a bubble about 18 inches down from the ceiling. Had to just pop it. All this water came flushing down, and
Oh shit.
thank God it was in the bathroom and only on the tile. But just as they say, Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and that's basically what happened this past 2 weeks. But we're back on our feet. Finally, have power, got heat, got everything up and running again, and
That's
just
good.
just holding out that these repairs can be finished up soon.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a maintenance department. Do you have a maintenance, for your facility, or?
I've been working with my landlord, and he's been cool about
Yeah.
it. We're just we had the plumbers in, they fixed all that. Now we just need a couple people to come fix the hole, and hopefully that'll be it.
Yeah. Well, we certainly wish you the best in that regard. Me and Tyler had a similar issue last winter where the pipes in the basement were frozen. We had to stay at Uncle Jeff and Aunt Sue's, and they were kind enough to allow us to stay for a few days. And Tyler Smith, he's another cousin, a part of the cousin camp,
Ooh,
and
birthday yesterday. Shout
it
out to
what. Yeah, I'll definitely let him know you wished him a happy birthday. Tyler's a year younger than I am. He is a coworker and good friend of mine as well. And but with that being said, we're working our. Colin's doing his best to work his way through his predicament, and we wish him all the best. We have some interesting topics today in regards to um, the video games, entertainment industry, and lots of other fun stuff too. And with that being said, Colin, I know, growing up with you, you were always a huge fan of Mr. Tom Clancy,
definitely.
and I, on the other hand, I haven't really been into his work, but I know he's very famous in regard to warfare subjects and what have you. And with that being said, I just wanted to get an idea of what your top five Tom Clancy books were, since you're a big reader as well.
Cool. Yeah. So you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Growing up, a bit of a bookworm. Kind of still read, still love to learn, still love to accumulate knowledge, however you want to call it. But when I was a kid, that was definitely like my best friends were books. Loved it. Uh, would crush like 2 books a week. Was all about it. And then late elementary school, middle school, kind of got bored with children's books, and I was already playing video games and rated T and this and that. So I'm just thankful my parents had no problem letting me graduate to adult fiction. Well, I shouldn't say adult fiction. I should say you know kind of scenario fiction, um, a novel, in other words, not like not nonfiction or not science fiction or fantasy. And Tom Clancy, he's the author of tons of famous material. Probably his most famous work is Hunt for Red October, which was also a movie, great movie with Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I would definitely put that up there as number one. It's got to be. It started it all. gave us the main character of his universe, or one of his universes, Jack Ryan. We call that the Ryan verse.
Hmm.
So, that's got to be not only honorary number one, but actual number one in terms of books. I'm a big fan of one of Jack Ryan's subordinates and colleagues in the CIA, and when Jack Ryan becomes president of the United States, this guy becomes part of his entourage and reports to him and doing some covert warfare type stuff, and that's John Clark. And so John Clark, he features in a couple of books. He's introduced mainly in Clear and Present Danger, but he is the main character in a book called Without Remorse. And so I'll probably put Without Remorse at number two, just because I love Clark so much. And then, gosh, if I have to pick a third one, it's probably going to be either Patriot Games or Clear and Present Danger, just because they just really set the tone, and or Sum of All Fears. It's so hard to pick. Like, there's so many, like, the interesting thing about Tom Clancy, like, he never served an active military, never like was part of a combat mission of any sort, but he was always working with those guys. He would write with those guys, interview those guys, and I think when Hunt for Red October came out, Ronald Reagan was president. Came out in the '80s, and it basically changed novels in the U.S. Like, it became an appropriate subject to write about that stuff because people found it interesting. Those were the times we were living in, the Cold War, USA versus Russia, First World versus Second World, and it was just a fascinating subject. And then what's cool about his material is, as real life changed and events changed and circumstances changed, so did his books. Like,
Hmm.
it's kind of weird that in one of Tom Clancy's books, he predicted, just like in September 11th, a plane was going to crash into the Pentagon. So, like,
Wow.
the guy was clever for sure, and just kind of knew what was going to happen, which is kind of weird. So
Yeah.
I'll just put tied for third all of those books I mentioned. But yeah, beyond books, movies are awesome. And then Red Storm Entertainment, which is named after one of his other books, Red Storm Rising. They were the game development studio for a ton of really, fun video games like Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, all that stuff. So they got some really cool stuff out there.
Yeah, Mr. Clancy sounds like a globally aware individual.
Oh, yeah.
And would do you think his work should be introduced in like an educational format, whereas like kids should read it for summer reading, like say for like historical purposes or social studies or something like that?
That's actually a really good thought, and it's probably something that a lot of schools probably wouldn't do, just because I wouldn't say it glorifies war by any means. It's definitely realistic and shows you all the bad stuff that happens too. But it is pretty, rah rah, pro America, pro military, and so if it's through the lens of like a historical or a social studies, American studies lens, then I think that's a great idea because
Hmm.
it really they're also period pieces too. It kind of captures the times, like just what we were doing in the CIA, what we were doing from a foreign policy standpoint. Like, we still do some of that stuff today, but you can't talk about the stuff today because it's a secret. You can talk about the stuff that happened 30, 40 years ago.
Hmm.
And now that it's all been declassified, and you can compare it to the books that Clancy was writing 40, 50 years ago, super cool to see that, like we're saying, this guy was spot on. Either someone was telling him insider info and he just novelized it, or he had a really good imagination and could come up with some crazy scenarios.
Yeah, it could have been both, and but I mean that's good to hear. That's the when we talk about warfare, that's the military part of it. I wanted to also today on today's episode, I wanted to cover the martial arts part of warfare. Me and Colin were talking about UFC. There have been some big fights going on. Um, there's big promotions and everything going on. Logan Paul is looking to, uh, get into the ring with Mayweather and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest follower of UFC. When I first saw it, when as a kid, like I thought it was kind of cool, it never was really like for me personally, like the ideal career path for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very, it's a dangerous ordeal, but on the same token, when you look at the youth today, it's consumed, not just the youth, but it's consumed by people of all ages on a global scale. It's broadcasted everywhere, but in regard to young people getting involved, like they have that vision of pursuing that as a career, and I just find that completely amazing. Whereas you and me, like 10 or 20 years ago, I wouldn't say that the prospect of I would say the prospect of like doing martial arts as a career was slim to none.
Yeah.
Because I grew up as playing baseball, football, basketball, just the regular sports. But now, like, uh,
It's
martial,
mainstream.
martial arts is a whole new culture. Soccer has been growing in popularity, and I think martial arts, they're really gaining some ground in terms of athletics. So maybe we'll even see it like being played in schools. Just to bring up the subject of schools again. I
You
mean,
never.
so that's always a possibility. I think Notre Dame, Tom Zibikowski, he was a safety for Notre Dame, and he was a boxer. I don't know if Notre Dame has like a boxing program or if it's like some intramurals, but he was like a heavy into boxing. But um, it's definitely something. It's cool to follow. I know you're a Rogan listener yourself, correct? Yeah, so he's heavily into the covering of
Yeah.
boxing and all kinds of sports. So I've been following his podcast and his guests. He has guys like uh, he's had Tyson on. He's had I think Poirier and numerous others. But he definitely that's pretty much what his format is. Like that's his, I would say, his core audience.
Yeah.
Um, but I just think that whole that's a cool subject to follow.
Yeah. It's fascinating how when we were very young, Chris, like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield,
Oh yeah.
heavyweight boxing was still the big ticket martial art. Obviously there were Bruce Lee movies and Jackie Chan movies, but besides for like a very dedicated minority of people in the US that were actively into martial arts, kung fu, karate, any of that stuff, like boxing was it. And so now UFC really built itself up and it supplanted pretty much everything else in terms of competitive martial arts on television and uh, you know as a sporting event. And these guys are bringing home millions of dollar purses
Yes.
because they can attract that much pay-per-view sponsorship and viewership. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. That's the grandiose of the sport, wealth and physicality. If it all started, I feel like the pioneer of it was Chuck Liddell. That's my opinion because he was just such a savage and he was such a TV star. I think he was
Popularized it.
he was the McGregor before there was a McGregor, and the guy was just really tough. He was in movies and stuff like that. But there's a lot of money to be made if you were to choose that career path. But it's just something I wanted to cover. And
Not
but
easy. Not easy. You
oh yeah, yeah, that's
you would need
another.
a lifetime of training, eat right, work out every day, no alcohol, no nothing. That's got to be your life. Everything else is kind of secondary to that because your body is your temple and that's your livelihood. If you take a day off and you drink a six pack and watch the Jets game or whatever, you're going to get your butt kicked. So these guys are disciplined and dedicated to the core.
Yeah, it's a big challenge when once you mix the mental toughness and physical toughness. It's a big challenge for them, on a daily basis. And you know, it's I'll try to see more events, as I go. But like um, after, along with that, speaking of events, I wanted to, mention, how I want to see some Broadway shows. I've never been to a Broadway show. I've seen different theater shows. I was a part of the stage crew when I was in high school at Paul the Sixth High School in Haddonfield. I did that for a couple years or so, and you know, there's that. There's the concerts that who I want to see. It's hopefully everything can start rolling on that end. But just speaking of like Broadway, I'd love to see like the shows that like I helped with in high school. I'd like to see that
Yeah, so
them
tell us.
performed on like on a. So my sophomore year when I first joined the stage crew, the name of the show was "Kiss Me, Kate," and that's a famous
Yeah.
theatric show. And the second one, it was a huge production full of pyrotechnics and stuff like that. It was for Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and to see that live in person, I feel like that'd be pretty cool as well.
Hey, not
And
just live, but to be doing it, man. So, that's
right.
like, sure.
But there's just a lot of good music involved, a lot of good drama, to be seen, on a professional level, and I just want to be a part of it. And who knows? Maybe I could get back into stage crew. The senior year when I was doing it, it was Les Mis. That's a famous one.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't finish out the show due to unfortunate circumstances. There was intramural basketball, and that got in the way of that.
It's not unfortunate.
So I wasn't. I was kind of kicked off, but what can you do about that? That's not something I can tell the people of Broadway if I were to rejoin stage crew. But I don't know, just something that just crossed my mind.
Leave our industry. Well, basketball, baby. Sorry.
Well,
Ball never stops.
what can you do? But uh, it was a good experience overall. A nice little something something for the resume.
So what,
But
what what plays that have you not seen or productions that you would want to see on Broadway? Or what is like, are there any out there that you would want to see when things open up
um,
again? Or would you just be more or less you'd want to go to a big show and check it out regardless just to get the atmosphere of a Broadway theater show?
like you said, I'd like to see the atmosphere. Um, there's my freshman year before I joined. What was the name of the show? It was Crazy for You. That's something I'd like to see. Then there's West Side Story. That was actually the show that was put on when I was in eighth grade. Me and my classmates went to go see it at my high school, and that was a good show when I saw it. I mean I can barely remember it, but I mean I saw the movie with I forget who was in it, but it'll come to me later. Um,
Yeah.
there's Lion King on Broadway. I'd like to see that, but other than that, I'd like to see an opera show. Those guys are really talented.
Oh yeah. Impressive.
I mean, they have good vocal ability, nice strong vocal ability,
Incredible.
and I'd love to be a part of the entertainment industry. That's something I'm working toward. I got a few days ago. I got some musical pieces for the choir because I am a part of the choir as well. Some pieces for the keyboard I can play. It's the same music my choir director has, but yeah, I mean those are kind of the shows I'd like to see. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's just something I wanted to bring up on today's episode.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. I've been able to see a few shows.
Hmm.
Um, I remember going to see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and
That's another one.
that
That's
that
another
was
one.
incredible. I mean, Andrew Lloyd Webber, he's still alive, probably one of the greatest living playwrights, if not the greatest living playwright. I think he did that one. I think he did Wicked.
Good one.
Maybe more big ones that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but the guy is he's the top of his trade. So that was really cool. Incredible music. All the performers are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a little more of a silly one, but it just goes to show that a Broadway show shouldn't be typecast, and it shouldn't be discriminated against. Like, oh, you like plays? It's like, yeah, I saw the Book of Mormon, dude. Like, Book of Mormon, hilarious musical that was written and directed by the two guys from South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Oh, look at that.
It was incredible. Like, not only amazing show tunes, but hilarious.
Huh.
Like on edge of your seat, laughing the whole time. Like a really, really fun experience. So Broadway's awesome. If there was one show that I've not seen that I would like to, it right now it would probably be A Bronx Tale, which was originally a one-man show by Chaz Palminteri,
Hmm.
who played the gangster Sonny in the movie A Bronx Tale. But it's basically loosely based off his experience as a young kid from an Italian family growing up in the Bronx. And
Mm-hmm.
just being a big New York sports fan and a big Yankee fan, especially, that one's a fun one.
It's right down your alley.
Right down my alley.
Yeah, and it's definitely exciting stuff. And there's a lot of shows to be seen live, also on the internet. If you're a YouTube watcher, there is our podcast, of course, with us being 7 episodes in. Colin, while you were away, I had a couple of guests on the side. One was Mr. Polizzi, Damian Polizzi. He's setting up his pizza parlor. Our video's on YouTube for that. That was episode 5. Also, in episode 6, we had Tom MacLeod, a very good friend of mine. He was talking about his role as a representative at a medical cannabis company. So, and that's actually in Maryland. And he's a big tennis guy too. He played for LaSalle Tennis, and he's a real class act. If you ever get the chance to meet him, you'll be thoroughly impressed.
Well, I'm sure we'll get along seamlessly.
Yeah, we had a fun episode. It was a good time catching up, and those are two great guys, Damian Polizzi. There's Polizzi Brick Oven.
To New Jersey now that everything's legal in New Jersey now.
I know, yeah, we can spark up, and yeah, that's a new facet of New Jersey, and another. Speaking of new facets. Damian Polizzi is bringing Brick Oven to Washington Township, my old hometown. So that's exciting as well. If you're a pizza lover, if you're a food connoisseur, you can go to Polizzi Brick Oven. You can look it up on his Instagram page. He's an amazing chef, amazing cook. Yeah, he has he was on episode 5. He's a big brick oven in his backyard, and it was exciting having him on.
Awesome.
But yeah, being on YouTube is such a privilege. It's very inspirational seeing, guys like Evan Britton. He's a former football player. He has his own podcast now, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. You have guys like Mike Stud. He has his own podcast now too. With him going from a baseball player, a musician, now he's a podcast guy. He's having big success with it. You can just go on, and I just want. I don't know how successful I'm going to be in this venue. Of broadcast communicating, but it's something I can definitely see myself doing as I age, as the older I get. Hopefully we can
start somewhere, right, Chris?
Sure. Yeah.
Even the legends like Don Imus, Mike Francesa, Rick Limbaugh, all the NPR people. Like everyone started somewhere, and
sure.
We're lucky in that 2021 and in our millennial generation, we have access to YouTube, the internet, podcasting equipment, microphones, and we can whatever you put into it, you can get out of it. And so it was pretty fun. And I enjoy doing this with you because this is something I enjoy doing too. Just talking and, putting myself out there. You know,
Hmm.
people, people we've probably never even met are probably watching the show, subscribing, whatever. And I think that's a cool thing. That
Hmm.
if it strikes a chord with people, that's really all that matters. We can. This is the first time ever, probably maybe since probably ever, that you're not restricted to someone giving you content. You can go out and find your own or make your own content. Like we used to have, everyone used to get the newspaper delivered. That was the only news you could get. Then we get radio. Okay, now you have newspaper and radio, competing forums. Now you add TV, now you add internet, satellite, everything. Like people have more choices now than ever. So,
Hmm.
like, it's pretty cool that with the growth of communication and broadcasting, it gives people like us who are not technically trained in it the
Right.
opportunity to, you know, have some fun and work on something we enjoy.
Absolutely. And I would say definitely doing business to business sales has helped me with my communication skills. Um, you know, dealing with people face to face and just being in the business world, that I feel like that translates to something like this immensely. And it's all about of working on the craft and just doing the best you can. And um, there's YouTube, there's Netflix as well. That'd be cool, being on Netflix. Hopefully, getting the camp on Netflix, just having our own setup, having our own show, getting paid for it. But that's somewhere far down the road. I wanted to mention there's some good specials out right now. There's the one on Pele for all you campers out there who will happen to be soccer fans. Pele is the football legend out from Brazil. Colin, my good friend and co-host, happens to be a big football fan as well. All right, Colin. Let's mention your teams. Who do you support?
So,
Let the campers know.
right, first and foremost, I am a Bayern Munich fan. Bayern, Bayern literally translates to Bavaria, a region in Germany, southern Germany. Munich, obviously the city of Munich. Probably been a fan since the third, fourth grade when my family had a nanny from Germany take care of my sister and I, and she was awesome. We still keep in touch with her to this day. Anya, hello Anya. If you're
Shout out
listening,
to Anya Goldschmidt.
Anya. And yeah, one of the first things she brought over to kind of win over my young third grade affections was a cool Bayern Munich soccer jersey. So uh,
Wow, look at that.
yeah, kind
I
of
didn't
get
know that. That's news to me.
so got that, and then around that time, David Beckham, Bend It Like Beckham was a big deal.
I
Played a
got.
little bit, played a little travel soccer in my hometown of Connecticut, and just over time, and as more World Cups and big international tournaments kind of kept going on, and I got older, I started realizing, you know what, I enjoy this game a lot. I stopped playing competitively, but it's something I kept following. And Bayern, successful team. It's fun watching good teams play well. So yeah, love them. They crushed it last year. Won 6 trophies in a single season. Pretty incredible. But besides them, for an English-speaking team, I support Arsenal, based out of London. Not quite as successful as Bayern, but that's what's fun about being a fan, and that's what being a fan's about. Is you got to support them in the tough times, not only the good times. And so they're kind of struggling a little bit, but they'll be back. They're a big team.
Very good. But that seemed pretty cool. Watching that Pele special, I didn't catch too much of it. There's also another special for all you big hip hop heads out there. The Notorious B.I.G. It came out today, March 1st. It's chronicles the life of Christopher Wallace, big hip hop artist, and that's something I look forward to getting into. If not tonight, definitely my day off tomorrow. I'll take a look at that, and maybe we can discuss it on the next podcast. But that's very exciting stuff.
Hey, I love it when you call me Big Papa.
You and me both. Yep. So
Smalls, baby. Shout
I
out.
know. Yep. New York. Yep. Brooklyn in the building.
And then cool song. I didn't learn this till later on, but that's that Puff Daddy or P Diddy or Diddy or whatever he's calling himself now. I'll be missing you. This is all about the notorious B.I.G. and
Hmm.
they sample one of my favorite bands, The Police, and awesome song, awesome song.
Absolutely. And we're gonna wrap our show up by covering uh, another streaming platform, which happens to be Amazon. Campers, to give you a little bit more background information about myself, I would say I am a Dragon Ball Z nerd. Admittedly, it is what it is. I was a big anime fan growing up as a kid,
Everyone,
and I went through the process of rewatching the series when I was in college, and I was contemplating on doing so now, like 10 years later, after seeing a few clips on YouTube. But then I happened to notice that to stream a season of Dragon Ball Z on Amazon, it would cost you $90, and I
what?
would say I'd be ready to do that. I couldn't believe it here. I had the same exact reaction, Kyle. But you know what? I thought about it more today, and it kind of makes sense given that Amazon is so notable for their free delivery and their whole logistics delivery process and everything. Their vehicles, they're a huge brand in terms of the products that they have to offer. They're just huge, huge business. When I first, just thinking about it, either Amazon, either the people at Amazon are shrewd price pointers, or our country is just very, very nerdy, and there's just like a huge like demand for stuff such as anime, where people like me would just sit behind a television or a computer and just watch these episodes on end and just pay whatever and throw money at Amazon. I couldn't. I mean, I've purchased a couple episodes. They're like $3 a piece, but I
Wow.
mean, I'm just choosing my episodes carefully.
Like,
And
to your point, like there's like 300, so many episodes of that show.
mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe 300, 350 divided by 90. It's not the worst price when a song on iTunes is 99 cents. Like, so I guess if you look at it that way, it's not terribly expensive for an entire series. But if it's just streaming rather than owning, that's still a bit pricey.
Songs are still 99 cents on iTunes.
Maybe it's been a while, but
Yeah.
that's what it was for the longest time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if like a 3 minute song would be 99 cents, an album would be $10, and it's like just buy the album. It's 14 songs.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's new. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about that. I wonder what that whole format's like. I haven't been on iTunes in a long, long time.
A long time, yeah.
That whole, and
Spotify guy now, and just
that's true.
remember, we're on Spotify, so stream it, listen to it.
Absolutely. Also, we have our merchandise that shall be released in the near future. I posted pictures up on our Instagram page, the Cousin Camp podcast page. There's going to be different colors. We're going to have the RV on the front of it with the logo. We do have our philosophy, which is where we shoot the breeze and the fire is still intact. And everything is going to be illustrated in emoji fashion. You'll be able to see pictures. There's going to be the I don't want to get into the crazy details, but like it has to do with like the whole philosophy of what I just mentioned.
Tune
But
in later. Tune in down the road. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Chris put in a lot of hard work working on this, and we're finally getting close to having it ready for you guys and your ability to support the show and allow us to continue to do this. And so we appreciate it. So keep your eyes out.
absolutely, campers, and until next.